Lynne Jebens. Welcome to Journey of an Aesthete podcast.
Thank you.
You are the guest on this episode, and it's a very, I should say, I always like to say few remarks up front, if you don't mind. We've had all kinds of guests on our episode. We've had, performing musicians, we've had dog trainers, we've had writers, poets, novelists, actors, actresses, painters. I believe you are the very first agent we have had on our podcast. So it's an honor to
Thank you.
to have you represent the world of agents and contracts and talent agency. So Lynne, welcome to our show, Lynne. And you always like to start from a kind of a linear chronology. Before we get to the subject of what your profession is itself, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to become an agent.
That's a good story. I was an actor. I was going to be an actor. I got a BFA in theater at Illinois Wesleyan University. I'm an Illinois girl.
Okay.
And I went to grad school at the University of Georgia because
Excellent.
the head of the department at that time was one of the top directing teachers in the country. And ultimately, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to act, but I also wanted to direct.
So you wanted to do, you already knew you wanted to do both at that time. What years would that have been, if I may ask?
College was 70 to 74. Grad school was 75 to 77.
Those were great years for the arts. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, very good years.
I mean, those are the years of Cowboy Mouth and Shepherd and all that, and the new Hollywood cinema and all the stuff going on.
Well, a lot of the film festivals were beginning in that time period. But I was very lucky. I had a great, incredibly talented group of people around me in both places.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the actor Frankie Faison. He was on The Wire, and he's done 9,000 things. He was a senior when I was a freshman at Illinois Wesleyan, and I got to watch a rehearsal of his one day. He was doing Caliban, and they had a guest from Northwestern University had come in, and I watched this incredible rehearsal go down with him. And when I got to University of Georgia, I was in school with a guy named Wayne Knight, who was Newman on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And so Wayne is, still one of my closest buddies.
Yeah.
So I moved into Atlanta for a year after that. Then I was working for a construction company. Don't ask. And I moved.
I am going to ask. That's an interesting trajectory. So
I was running around with a country rock band, and I wanted to stay in Atlanta for a while because I was, involved with these guys. And then the company offered.
I'm gonna pause you there. I gotta hear about this country music band. I'm just curious. So were you a lead singer or guitar? What were you doing?
No, I wasn't in the band.
I was in the band. So you were doing road work, or?
Yeah, I was just a groupie. Yes, I mean, I would go help set up and stuff like that, but most of their gigs were in Atlanta. They were a wonderful group called Footloose.
Okay.
And they don't exist anymore, but a lot of the guys who are still alive are still working, in the music business. And then I realized if I did not leave, I wasn't going to leave. And I needed to get to New York. And by that time, my closest buddies at Georgia were already up there. So I got an offer from the company to move to Baltimore with them and set up the office there. And I thought, okay, that gets me so much closer to New York. It'll be easier to make that transition. So I lived in Baltimore.
You were already you were already thinking you're in Atlanta, you're involved in country music and working with this band but yet you had your eyes set. You knew you eventually wanted to go to New York. Is that right?
Yep.
So you had kind of a very specific goal.
I did. I mean, I was a theater baby. Film and TV I can live without. But I'm a theater baby at heart. So New York was the place I needed to go.
Sure.
So I moved to Baltimore, and probably like every third weekend I was up here in New York. I'd take the train up and spend the time with the guys and got to know the city and everything.
Right.
And when I finally moved up here, I lived with Wayne and Sam and David, who had this huge apartment on 71st and Broadway. So that's who I lived with when I first moved up here. And got up here. I was doing the visit weekend. Okay. And Wayne and I were sitting in his bedroom, having a beer on a hot Sunday afternoon. And he said, you'd make a great agent. And I went, piff, piff, piff. I'm an actor.
Yeah.
And I got on the train that afternoon and I started thinking about it. And I said, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because I am a character actress, a young character actress at that time. And I could not name 10 female character actress parts in the American theater at that time.
I could have. At that time, well, hold that thought. I'm a strange person. So in the 1970s and early 80s, I spent my summers in New York City with my folks. So I basically saw every production that came through there, whether it was Vanities or the Hot L Baltimore, or
I love Hot L.
Cowboy Mouth, or I think the last production I saw with my folks was the Hurly Burly, the famous one, So I definitely am. So when you mention character actors, to me they're actors. I mean, they're not. So whether it's Jill Eikenberry or Swoosie Kurtz or whoever it was,
I used to babysit for Jill and Michael when I first moved to New York.
Really?
Yeah. That's another story for another time. Yep. But you know what? You have to be realistic. I was young.
Yeah.
I would work all the time in the industry. Were I in my 40s and 50s at that point? But I was 27. Okay. So I should have said 27-year-old character actresses. They weren't writing parts for those kinds of actors.
Interesting.
So I thought, you know what? I can learn the business of the business, which I knew was difficult. I will meet all the casting directors, and I was a good actor, so I wasn't worried about having my foot in the door and being able to back it up.
Right.
So that is what I started to do. I moved up here, and I went ahead and started looking for agency jobs.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I wanted to do legit. I didn't want to do commercial. I didn't want to do kids. I didn't want to do voiceovers. And I had a wonderful...
if you don't mind, I'm going to interject a little bit there. So when you mentioned becoming an agent, or to a lay person, again, assume that some of our audience doesn't have a clue about what an agent is. They've only heard the term. So what, if you best in you from your admittedly professional, well-experienced point of view, what is an agent? What is an agent?
Okay.
What does an agent do for a performer or an actor that doesn't happen without that agent?
Agents represent the actor. They are the liaison, if you will, between casting directors and the actor.
Okay.
We receive every day a series of breakdowns with the casting needs. So let's say it's an episode of Law and Order, or an episode of Blue Bloods when it was still shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Or a production of any theater, Shakespeare, anything.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, anything. And it says, here's our casting needs. Here are the dates. Here's the director. Here's when the submission is due. Now, when I started in the business, we would come to the office every morning and there would be an envelope outside the door.
That's right.
And they physically printed those breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
We would make the submission, type it, pull the pictures and resumes, and send the packets out to the casting directors. Now, of course, everything's on computer.
Everything's on screen, but we're not talking about the 2020s. We're going back. So would you say this was 78, 79, or a little bit later?
Oh, even this is probably, I moved here in February of 79. So I'm talking like the early 80s.
Right. So it's 1979. And I know in film, it was an explosive year between Breaking Away and all that jazz, and just what a year in film, Kramer versus Kramer. But in theater, what was one of your original productions you could think of that you helped an actor get a part, or you helped
Well, let's clarify that. Yeah. The first step in becoming an agent is to be an assistant.
Okay.
So as an assistant agent, my job was mostly putting out the auditions, again, typing the submissions, doing that kind of stuff. If the agent came to trust you, perhaps he'd ask your opinion about what do you think about these three actors, who's right. but that's how you learn. You're
That's
learning how to look at the written word and learn what that character should be. And at the same time, you're also learning the taste buds of the casting directors, which is real important. You know, if you've got a casting director that you know loves young character actors, that's a great piece of information to have at the back of your head. They don't need to see drop dead gorgeous young, as they say in the theater, tits and ass, you know, on every role. So it gives you some flexibility and some freedom to be creative in your submissions.
Let's going back to 79, 80, 81, say those 3 years. What were some productions that you came in contact with or before that you can think of, or just whatever?
Ain't Misbehaving. My boss had represented at that time Armelia McQueen.
Yes.
So that's the one that comes most.
Well, I could tell you that me and my mom and dad loved that show. That was a fantastic production with Andrea Crouch, right? I think it was Andrea Crouch, and was he?
It was Armelia McQueen and the heavyset, wonderful character actress.
Nell Carter, was she in
Nell Carter. Nell Carter.
Yeah. But that's a Fatswaller musical.
Yes.
That's some of the greatest music. Fatswaller's
and your feet's too big.
Yeah, that's mad at you because your pedal extremities are colossal.
Yeah.
Yes, so you worked on that show. Was that
well, I didn't work on the show. Right. I worked on getting the actor into the audition.
Right.
Our only job as an agent is to submit who we have.
Yeah.
Hope that somebody appeals to the casting director, and then the casting director says, I want to see these people at this time, at this place, with this material.
I misspoke. Of course, you're not doing the production, but what I mean is that, you know, Richard Maltby, whoever it was it Richard Maltby, called you? You got to know who you would talk with in that. It was originally.
No, it would be the casting director.
Yeah.
We don't talk. None of this. That part of it doesn't come till the actor is hired.
Right.
So we deal. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Hughes Moss may have been the casting director for that production. It was Julie Hughes and Barry Moss.
Right.
Both who unfortunately are no longer with us, but they were wonderful casting directors.
I mean, that's a memorable show. I think about that show today, and you talk about.
I just referred to it recently with somebody on the phone about that production. So
so that was the first, and so talk a little bit about, if you want to, another production or something memorable about.
Honestly, that's a long time ago.
A long time ago.
I can't. There was an actor named Jim Langrel.
Oh yeah.
Who played Jimmy played the Grease, the original production of Grease. Right. He was the radio jockey or whatever that character was. Yeah, disc jockey. Jimmy was in that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting right across the room looking at a picture of Jimmy on my wall here. Wow. Somebody was a very dear friend over the years. But those are the only two I can think of. And again, you have to keep in mind, I wasn't working on them. I was doing the grunt work, so to speak.
Right.
So I think probably my boss, Danny, would be better, able to think of those things than I am,
Yeah.
It really wasn't until I started to become an agent and you're starting to be aware of who's being seen for what and what casting directors like what actors, that you are more conscious, I think, of the things that you're booking,
That's true. Well, so give me an example. So this is interesting to me. So you're sort of connecting performers or actors with the casting director. So what would be an example later on or that time that comes to mind of an interesting and unusual, say a production that's out of the ordinary maybe, or doesn't have to be musical, it could be theater or something where memorable where you really making that connection was instrumental or was
I do have a funny one. There was a wonderful play called Italian American Reconciliation.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And it was John Turturro.
Yes.
Who had the lead.
Yep.
And his cousin in it was, and these are all Italians, was an actor named John Pankow, who was my client.
Wow.
Now, Johnny was as Irish as the day is long from
That's
Chicago.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was cousin Ira on Mad About You down the road.
Right. That's right.
And has done 9,000 things over the year. In fact, his wife, Christine Sutherland, was also a client for a long time. And she was Buffy's mom on Buffy the Vampire
Slayer. Yeah. I should say all these, in case the audience, these are all some of the greatest actors. They may not be household, Banco but go ahead. I just wanted to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and in fact, Johnny and Christine have kind of retired right now. Their daughter had her second son. So they're playing grandma and grandpa, and people call and make them offers, and they say yes or no, and they've been very successful in their careers and no longer have to go through that whole audition thing, But yeah, so but Johnny was so Irish, and I thought there's no way in hell they'll look at him, but he's so right for that part. So I submitted him, they saw him, and they hired him. Johnny was like he's what I call one of my favorite actors because he's got so much ability to be a chameleon.
Oh, he's an amazing actor.
Same with Wayne. I mean, Wayne was the same way, and my ex-client, I say ex-client only because they moved to Los Angeles. I don't work that market. But Stephen Root, who was my client for many years, is still one of my best friends. Stevie's a chameleon.
Yeah, he is.
He's Milton on Office Space. Where's my space?
Oh, yeah.
And he just played an asshole on Barry, the series Barry. He was
I love.
the cousin.
Well, Barry's a great show. I wanted to ask you. You talked about the chameleon. That's the second time you've used this word. What when you say that a particular actor is a chameleon, what do you mean exactly? In a more, it may sound obvious at first, but it might not.
They have the ability to change color. Okay. They have the ability to do comedy. They have the ability to do drama. They can be good guys. They can be bad guys. Their scope and range is so large that you don't have to limit them to a certain type of character. Which brings up a point that I will make to skip ahead just a little bit. I think that's one of my frustrations in the industry now.
Yes,
is that everyone trains to be an actor to hopefully gain the knowledge and the ability to pull out of yourself the good things, the bad things of a character, whatever.
Right.
The industry now has gotten to the point where, they want you to be what you are playing. And that irritates the hell out of me.
Well, that's why I guess you would say that's antithetical to the chameleon. The chameleon is, I guess the actor, the human being sort of embodies that person. It's not necessarily them. It's not the same.
And there are certain things where that I agree with that. For instance, to say that somebody is Native American character.
Oh yeah.
For a long time, you didn't have to be a Native American, but years ago, this changed that if they want somebody Native American, I have the right to call a lot of my clients and say, you've got to be off that list unless you can give me a tribal affiliation.
Oh, sure.
And I do have a couple, but one's a woman, one's a man who's also African American, so he's got this range in the background. But it's gotten to the point now where it disturbs me, the fact that you have to play that part.
Right.
Okay, so you have to be transgender. You have to be gay. You have
you mean if you're playing the director Fassbinder, you must be a gay German man, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's funny. I'm sort of thinking, in a way, that's going back to the classical studio, because in the old system, it was about the star always being themselves, right? Always not acting and being the same person, or is that kind of a? So maybe that's something that
I think. Well, that it was. They in those days they would have, white guys playing Asians. They'd put makeup on them and make them. I mean, look at Breakfast at Tiffany's and Mickey Rooney playing an Asian.
Oh, sure. Well, that's never. I wasn't. Of course, I was excluding examples like that. What I was saying is that you think about sort of the stars of that time. They are people. If you read Pauline Kael's essay, "The Man from Dream City," which is her love letter to Cary Grant. It's always Cary Grant's always in a certain sense Cary Grant. In other words, so I'm wondering maybe if our time now is I don't know. Maybe this is full of shit. I don't know. Is a return to that in a certain sense because you're always the same person, or you're identified?
No, you can still do other. Cary Grant was. I'll put Cary Grant in that chameleon thing. He could play.
Yeah, he was. You're right. He was a great actor.
Bad guys.
Oh yeah.
Comic roles. He could do very serious roles.
Right.
I mean, a lot of his early film work was, comedic stuff.
That's true.
What's the one with the Katharine Hepburn where she brings home the tiger or the
Bringing Up Baby.
Yes, Bringing Up Baby.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, he was hysterical.
Well, no, he was versatile, but what I mean is that there was a sense in which, I'm just take polar opposite, somebody who's really a chameleon, you can never tell who they are. I guess who was it? I guess Mary Abraham was like that to a lot of popular audiences.
Yes.
I can never recognize that person.
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody who's sort of playing themselves, like a Tom Hanks, who's always a Tom Hanks.
Well, see, now I disagree. I think Tom Hanks is a wonderful actor, and he's had range too. You have to take jobs that are offered. That becomes actors need to work. That is a mental state for them. Sure. They have to work.
Sure.
I had a client call me today who said, I haven't had any auditions. And I said, well, there aren't any auditions to be had right now. You forget this time of year, things kind of slow up and shut down. And look, we just went through COVID. We just went through a strike. It's changed everything.
Well, hold that thought before we get to how it's changed everything. I wanted to go back to Tom Hanks and what I meant. So yes, it's true. So I didn't mean to take away from his versatility. So if we see Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, right? Clearly that's different than Big, and clearly that's different than Castaway, but he does more or less look the same. In other words, an audience, unsuspecting audience member says, "Oh, I recognize that person." That's different than an actor that really changes visually, and it's really almost disguised. Again, I'm looking at this from an outsider's point of view, an audience member's point of view. Now, from one point of view, that none of this I'm saying matters at all, because there's the work and there's the end result, right? Because in a way, the end result is what's important, right?
Exactly.
But you talked. I didn't mean to interrupt, because I wanted to know it's important to discuss this. How the changes in the industry seem tremendous. Talk about all these things, pandemic and all these things.
Well, it certainly changed the way casting is done now.
Yeah.
No longer do you have actors who go into a room and audition. Everything is put on tape now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have said the biggest problem has been for me. Now, I'm an older woman, darling. So, I mean, It's been hard for me to make that adjustment too. But my clients, anybody who's over like 55, I've had to say to them, you need to get to a class, or you need to have somebody dependable who you can call on a moment's notice and say, I need to put this audition on tape.
Yeah.
Because that's been the hardest for all of us of a certain age, because we weren't raised on computers and all this rigmarole.
You and I are rather similar. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm 57. So we're a different generation. But my girlfriend's 71. So
I'm 73. So
exactly,
you know what I mean.
So we're all right. So I have no problem with ages. I just I guess that's an issue of, as you said, familiarity.
Yeah.
Are younger people really like computer native? Are they just so comfortable with computers and screens in a way that...
Absolutely. Because they're doing it in school.
Yeah.
The first time I worked on a computer in any capacity was with the last job I had, which was about 30 years I was at that one.
Yeah.
And I would say it was probably a good 10 years into that job before the whole thing flipped to computers. So now I'm learning how to work a computer.
Yeah.
And I'm doing pretty good for an old broad. I will say that. I'm very proud of myself.
Well, we're doing it right now.
Exactly.
We're doing it right now in this episode. So I want to rewind a little bit to some memorable, say you're a production. So let's talk about three. I'm going to break it down. This is my own count. 3 different kinds of productions.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be staged necessarily, although maybe it was usually staged, but a production that, shall we say, is a little unusual or has a limited audience appeal, say something a little more on the avant-garde side, right?
Mm-hmm.
A production that's more commercial, like a Grease, that has this popular appeal, and maybe something in the middle. Let's take what comes to mind in these 3 different categories: an actor, or how that would work, or how that would.
As far as what, my love? I'm not understanding.
As far as connected in actors to those 3 different types of productions.
You know what? I don't break it up like that.
Okay.
I look at a play I look at a movie breakdown and I simply look at who I've got who would be right for that part. End of story. Now, there may be a number of people who I can say, I'm not going to be able to submit them because they're mostly dancers. They don't have acting training. Do you know what I mean? So there are some people who might be limiting to me, but I can look at a resume, and if they've got some straight credits or they came out of a good school program, I know they've got acting chops too.
Yeah.
I have to, like I said, I always feel like, remember in the circus, you always had the guy on the one tire or one wheel up on a line. He had that big pole that he would set. Yeah. That's what I feel an agent is.
Okay.
On one side of the pole, you're holding your clients.
That's right.
On the other side of the pole, you're holding your casting directors.
Yeah.
If I do not service my casting directors, I screw it up for all my actors.
Right.
So I have to balance that. I also, though, have to keep my actors happy as well.
Sure. Do you mind discussing two different examples? One example where you had to go to bat for an actor. Just could be anything that comes to your mind. And another example where you had to go to bat for a casting director and rein in an actor. If anything.
Yeah, I got a couple of.
That's interesting.
I had a young actor many, many years ago. It's when the soap operas were still very crazy, wild, and, a lot of work. And I would call them every Wednesday. I found out that Wednesday morning, they had their production meetings and said, here's who we need for day players for the week. So I would call on Wednesday afternoon, and I would get any breakdowns for any day players coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I had this young kid. His picture was terrible. I'm talking terrible.
Uh-huh.
But he was really handsome, and he was so right for that market. So I kept submitting him, and I would call the casting director and I would say, you got to trust me. You got to trust me. Finally, one day she said, okay, I'll give him an appointment. She called me after the appointment and said, he needs new pictures. He's adorable. What is that piece of crap he's using? And she booked him on a reoccurring under 5 that lasted about 4 months.
Yeah.
And luckily, he was then able to afford to get new pictures and resumes.
That's good. Yeah. Well, that's a good result of that. But so what made it bad? When it made it bad? What's a bad picture? Just kind of.
As far as defending, like,
No. I mean, you said the photo was bad. What made it bad? Was it cheap? Kind of a cheap?
It was cheap.
Yeah.
The photo has to look like you.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitch, it's so important that whoever you are as an actor, and particularly now, it used to be when I started, you had 2 headshots. One smiling, warm, and open, and the other would be serious and dramatic. That was all you needed.
That's right.
Now you got to have 5, 6, 7 different pictures.
Oh, wow.
Up that show the different things. I need you. You want to do Law and Order? Then give me a lawyer, jacket and tie.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You want to be a judge?
Sure.
Something more stern. Put on a pair of glasses. Give me some character work. Give me some blue collar. If you have a good body, get a couple of 3/4 shots on there with a T-shirt.
That's right.
I need those tools to service my actors.
That's right. Well, we've discussed that, but what about the opposite, where you had to maybe, I don't want to use the word difficult, but you had to maybe rein in an actor, and you had to, I don't know, whatever.
I'll tell you exactly. It was an actor that I worked with. Very talented. Oh my God, this young man was talented. I sent him to an audition, and I didn't hear anything back for a while, but then the casting director called me at the end of the day, and he said, I need to let you know something.
No.
The actor showed up an hour late.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Wow.
Worse than that, the casting director was done with the adults. He now had young children in there.
Oh, wow.
And he said to my client, I'm sorry, I can't see you now. I'm seeing children. My client attacked him and literally chased him around the desk. Paul said he was so scared, and he finally called security, and somebody dragged him out in the hall.
Wow.
And I called the actor and I said, what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
Well, I should be seen. I said, yeah, you should have been at the hour that you were supposed to be there. And I said, you know what? I can't have somebody like you representing my name. I said, you're gone. Pick up your pictures, or I'll mail them. I think I mailed them to him.
Sure.
but I can't. Every time an actor walks into an audition, you're not only representing yourself, you're also representing your agents.
That's true.
Your conduct reflects back on me.
Right. That's true. Yeah. That's a lot to consider. You have to consider all these. As you said, it's a balancing.
Yeah. If I had one thing to say to any actor, it is, I shouldn't want it more than you do. Yeah. You've got to want this. It's a terrible, awful thing that we have fallen passionately in love with this business. It can be debilitating emotionally. It can be frustrating when you're not booking and you think you're really good, but something's not happening. But another thing that irritates me is I'll have actors call me the day of an audition that they've had for a week.
Yeah.
And now, I couldn't get it together. Excuse me?
Yeah, what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means.
Well, they want to cancel it, reschedule it. And I'm like, no. If you can't, we let this one go. You can't do that. You've now left a hole in a session of a casting director where somebody else could have gotten in and perhaps gotten a job. You screwed not only yourself and me, but you screwed another actor and you screwed the casting director.
Yeah. Well, well, these are, I guess, examples of where it did not go so well.
What not to do as an actor.
Not to do. What are some productions that you want to mention that meant something to you, or you felt that you made the perfect? I made the perfect without my actor, without this actor, that production would not be what it was. You could think of.
Well, definitely Italian-American Reconciliation.
Okay.
I definitely think John was a huge asset to that show.
Oh yeah.
And again, not being Italian, he was just, it shouldn't have been his part, and it was. Let's see, what else? Oh, see, I wish I knew you're going to ask questions like that. No, it's okay. I mean, it's just, there've been so many things over the years. I mean, even if an actor has had a small part in a big production, being able to see that. I mean, I met Julie Andrews because I had two people in the chorus of Victor Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
It was a huge thrill in my life. I grew up with Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music, which I think I've seen like 5,228 times. So stuff like that, I've had friends who have booked shows that, I had nothing to do with, but it gives me great joy to see the success that my friend has brought to that production. There's a show, in fact, they're great. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. There's a show. What were you going to say?
Well, they're bringing back the play Art.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be, I just saw this. It's not in my head yet, but who's the British actor who had the talk show and it just closed down? Wonderful comedian, actor, singer.
Oh,
he did the talk show where they did the karaoke in the car.
Oh,
you know who I mean?
It could be Ricky Gervais. There's a lot of.
No,
I'm not a BritBox expert like you.
Okay, no, I mean his show was in this country, but if I'll think of it. If I don't think of it, but him and two other wonderful actors. It's just a 3-person play, and it's about these 3 buddies, and one of them has bought a piece of art that hangs on the wall.
Oh, I know I've seen the play Art.
Okay, and actually, my friend Wayne was the replacement of the heavyset character guy at the end of the run. Mm-hmm. And so to go and see Wayne with those big names that he was up on, that was thrilling to me.
Sure. Absolutely.
But, at this age, I have seen so much theater, not as much as maybe my boss, who's much younger, but goes to everything.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard. Like I'll hit on something. There'll be somebody says a line or says a word, and I'll go, "Oh, okay." I remember that production.
Yeah. How about the matter of actors and actresses, men and women, or trans, or whatever the different? Because you mentioned a lot of male actors. What about the actresses? The experience of actresses going into productions and parts. Anything?
As far as any of my people, you mean?
Anything that comes to mind.
See. This is going to sound terrible. They're all actors to me, whether they're male or female.
That's right.
Okay. They are trained. They've come from good programs. They've worked with good people. I really don't think, I mean, again, I have to work under the guidance of a casting director who has needs.
Right.
I have to help him solve his casting problems. Hopefully I help him solve his casting. It's what every agent in town is hoping for. But so, I mean, actor, to me, I even refer to women as actors.
Sure.
I think anybody in the...
Well, we are in agreement on that. I tend to do that myself, but I was just wondering, just because I thought,
yeah.
I mean, it does matter. I mean, if you're doing,
yeah, I mean,
only because a part in a play might be a woman.
Yeah, I'm working with a wonderful woman, a character actress by the name of Denny Dillon, and I've been working with her many years. She was on Saturday Night Live. She was in the, I think she had a 3-year run in there. And she's been on Broadway. She's been nominated for Tony. She won a Cable Ace Award for a character she played on a TV show whose name I just went out my mouth. And Cable Ace Awards don't even exist anymore, but those were like the cable TV awards. The Emmys. The Emmys now cover everything, of course.
They do, yeah.
But so she's very talented and very wonderful. And I love watching her book stuff. She's going to do a show up at the Berkshire Theater Festival this year. So, that's a wonderful actress,
It's a remarkable thing to me, Lynne, when people know what they want so early. Like you said, you were in Atlanta, but you knew you wanted to go to New York City.
Yeah. I've wanted that since college.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You know what I mean? That everything to me has been a stepping stone.
Yeah.
How I live my life as an agent, the things I will do, the things I won't do for people. Sure. I mean, I think there's a certain modicum of ethics that I hope a lot of agents pay attention to, and some don't.
What would be an example of something non-ethical that you would not do, that you've heard about, or what would that?
Well, that you lie to an actor that the casting director refused to see them. Well, that person, you never even tried to get him an audition, so you've lied to your client.
Wow. Yeah.
I know of a situation where the agent didn't pay attention to the calls that were coming in regarding an actor, and then lied, said that he never got them. But he had, and he forgot to call the actor.
Yeah.
I mean, so there are things like that I just find very unethical. Lying to your casting director that somebody's not available so that you can get another client in. I've heard of that happening.
Wow.
And, each and every one of us is a human being. Sure. We all deserve a modicum of respect. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the biggest agent in New York City. Yeah. Be respectful.
Yeah.
There's nothing about you that is so high above everybody else.
Well, that's probably good for a lot of fields in life. A lot of.
Yeah, but more so in this.
That's right.
More so in this. I mean, you look at something. Do you know the movie All About Eve?
Of course I do, yes.
Okay. It's one of my favorites. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night. You look at that and what people will do to cheat and lie to get what they want. I think that there's all through, if you read any biography of any actor from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, you see a lot of that going on. I will be honest, I cannot think at the moment of his name. Wonderful character actor. He was in the movie Mame with Rosalind Russell. He played the teacher that had the boys all running naked in the room. And he was cast, he was actually a German actor. He was cast as the Chief Scar in The Searchers with John Wayne and
John Ford's picture. Yeah.
Okay. I met him. I went down to Florida to the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater. My roommate at the time. Yes, down at Jupiter now. It's the Jupiter, but it was Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
in the beginning, but he was down there. Patrick Wayne was actually playing the lead in Arsenic and Old Lace.
Oh yeah.
And this guy was doing the Teddy Roosevelt role, charge and everything. And we were out after the show having drinks. And he told the story about when he started in the industry. And I love this story because it just sometimes makes a difference as to.
Well, to be really clear, you're talking about Anti-Main, and you're talking about, I think,
Anti-Main.
Jan, German actor.
Yes, but
Hendrik.
No.
Okay.
No, that's not it. He was. If you got a book or something in front of you, or a computer in front of you.
Yeah. I mean,
look at the searchers. Look up the searchers.
Searchers. Okay. Is it different?
Look at the searchers on IMDb, and he's the actor who played Scar.
That's right.
But anyway, he was talking about had moved to this country. He was out in Los Angeles, and of course, what he wanted to do was movies. Mm-hmm. And he was doing a play out there. Now, in the theater, you can do the magic of makeup and things like that. He was 19 years old, and they were doing casting for the movie March of the Tin Soldiers with Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
And he was in this play where he's playing an old decrepit man, and somebody from MGM saw him and called him in to come and audition. He went in. He walked in the door at 19 years old, and they all looked at each other and said, "I am so sorry, but we've got the wrong actor." Oh. And he said, "Well, you wanted the actor who played this old man. This was me." And they said, No. I'm so sorry. We've got to cancel this appointment. And they walked out.
Yeah.
They called him the next day and tried to set up the appointment again, said, "Sorry, we had made a mistake." So he went back, full makeup from the play.
Yeah.
The beard, the age, everything. Walked in. They auditioned him. They offered him the part. And he stood in front of them and said, "By the way," and he pulled all the aging stuff off of him so that they saw standing in front of him the same guy who had been there 2 days ago.
Yeah. So that's a remarkable story. I mean, I think you're talking about Henry Brandon, I think.
Yes, Henry Brandon. Henry Brandon.
My brain, part of the problem is I have an encyclopedia in my mind, but the thing about my encyclopedia is that it can miss, sometimes when you get into 50s, it gets a little.
Yeah.
I'm not a big 50. I mean, I know that stuff, but I'm more maybe 70s and 30, and go 30s, all these different. So I'll remember Jeffrey Hunter, of course, and I'll remember John Wayne.
And Alan Hale.
But I'm not going to remember the entire, it sounds like you do, the entire cast of the Searchers.
I had a mother who loved the movies.
Yeah.
There was no sense that I became an actor, none whatsoever. I come from a blue-collar family. I'm the oldest of 7. Wow. Nobody else got into the arts.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. In the Midwest in those days, yes. There's five from my mom and dad. And I have 2 wonderful half-sisters who are my sisters. And I only say half to indicate that there's a different parent involved.
I'm an only child. I can only imagine, I can't imagine. Even imagine what is it like growing up with so many people and such circumstances. So many.
You know what? It was great because you always had somebody to play with.
That is true. You're never lonely, I guess. So you never.
But nobody else was into the arts. But I remember watching. There was no movies on TV when I was a kid. I remember they added a TV show called Saturday Night at the Movies.
Oh yeah.
And it was the first time that they showed full-length films on TV. And I remember seeing Picnic, one of my favorite films, seeing Picnic on there for the first time.
You're seeing the great Kim Novak, William Holden.
Yep.
William
Russell, William.
Oh no! It's an amazing film. And,
it's incredible.
Yeah. You first saw that as a teenager, or is it?
Younger. I was probably maybe 9.
Wow.
9, 10. In fact, I that theme song from Picnic is still one of my favorite pieces of music.
That's Moonglow.
Yep.
Moonglow. Yeah. It's funny mentioning that. I'm a jazz pianist and musician.
Oh,
and you'll never. I can't prove this, but this morning as part of my practice, I was working on Moonglow.
Oh my God.
And we're talking about it now.
Oh my God. That's weird.
That's really uncanny. That's synchronicity.
That's weird.
Didn't know we'd be talking picnic. But.
My introduction to jazz. My dad was born and raised in Davenport, Iowa.
That's Bix.
And that's Bix Beiderbick.
Right.
And my grandmother went to high school with Bix. Oh. I've been to his grave many, many times. Wow. And I grew up with the stories of, it was before the internet, so people didn't have information on people, and they thought he was just some poor kid, and he'd show up at school with no shoes. And Grandma said that they bought him a pair of shoes one day. Now, his father was a big-ass doctor in Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
But he quit school, moved to Chicago. His career started there, and came back and played their prom. And said, I'm going to play a new piece it's the first time it's ever been played, and I'm going to play for you the Davenport Blues.
Davenport Blues, yeah. Davenport.
I told that story a couple months ago, and a week later, on my feed on YouTube, it came up the album Davenport Blues, Bix Beiderbick. So
Lynne, that's fantastic. I didn't know we'd be talking about Bix. I mean, Bix is one of the good Bix. Louis Armstrong, of course. And yes, James P.
And
Johnson,
Hoagie.
And Art Tatum, but you can't forget Bix.
No,
can't forget Bix is
And the movie Man with the Golden Arm is written about Bix.
Yeah, Sinatra. That's right.
Yeah,
it is about Bix, young man. Well, that's fascinating. Why don't we've touched on this before. You mentioned technological changes in the screen and sending in, not doing it in person. Sending in videos and video clips. What are your thoughts, just off the cuff, thinking about where we're moving as a society, as a world, technologically, AI, and how any of that affects or doesn't affect acting and the world of performance? Any thoughts on where we are? Or is that too big a question?
I will tell you, Mitch, it scares me.
Oh.
It scares me deeply. And I'll tell you why. As human beings, and let's just say even as actors, part of what you gain in a rehearsal hall, in a room, working with people, doing classes, is the ability to communicate one-on-one with another human being.
Oh, yeah.
By taking all of that away, we are losing our humanity, I think.
Wow.
And for actors not be able to get in a room and feel the energy in a room when they're doing the audition, that is so important to how you present as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the theaters are doing callbacks in the room. There is some of that starting to expand a little bit.
That's right.
And some of the TV and film people are doing Zoom callbacks. So at least you're, working with somebody, and getting direction. But if you sort of off the theatrical for a moment, if you look at the amount, we blame guns for shootings. Guns don't kill people. The people shooting the gun do.
That's true.
And I think you've got all these, if you look at the technical world in the last 30, 40 years, all the games that have come up, these young kids are being raised on an environment of violence in the games that they play. Okay. So it's nothing for them. They blow heads off in their video games. So why would it be any different than to walk into somebody and blow their head off there?
Wow.
I mean, I blame a lot of this for the internet and the gaming and all that for a lot of the problems in the world.
Interesting.
And if you're sitting at a computer all day and you're not interacting with people, how do you learn to communicate?
Right.
I mean, you and I are talking right now and we're not looking at each other, but are we having any problems of communication?
No. Well, I mean, how much of that could just simply be experience over time? Of course,
I grew up in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Those were changing years for me. We didn't have, Pac-Man, okay? Right. I was the Pac-Man queen in college. I'd come into the dugout.
So I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. So that's interesting. So in a way, maybe the 70s and 80s aren't too different than the 60s. Maybe it was.
It was a melding of time periods and changes. But we didn't have, I mean, by the time I got into college and stuff, the only thing I was playing with video games down in a pool hall basement. Or in a bowling alley, or
Yeah, you were playing air hockey or something.
Yes, air hockey. Oh table. God, yeah, I love air hockey. I hadn't thought of that in years.
Oh, yeah.
And they were games that involved other people.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean. You weren't sitting at a computer doing, tic-tac-toe by yourself.
Right, that's something. Lynne, is there anything before even good things come to an end, like this discussion? Is there anything you want to say to actors out there, or to
Yes, I do. Okay. I would say the following. You have to want this very, very badly, and you have to be dedicated, but also realize not all of you are going to be stars, but you can be working actors, and anything you choose to do with that acting background makes you a more viable client for somebody. In other words, if you're a lawyer and you've had acting training, think of what you'll be like in a courtroom.
Sure.
If you're a teacher, if you decide you're just going to teach, think what you bring with that acting background, the ability to communicate.
Sure.
I had a wonderful young actor years ago, and he got his first big job. I mean, he'd done some soap things, and he got his first big job, Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park. I'll never forget this. And he came back and he said, "Can I take you out for lunch?" I said, "Sure." And he said, I'm leaving the business. I said, "What?" He said, "Lynne, I realize that I don't want this as much as I should, that I want to have a wife and a house and 2.5 children and a couple of dogs."
Yeah.
And he went to law school and became a lawyer.
Yeah.
But he had all that wonderful training to bring with him.
Oh, interesting.
So
you're saying it was not a waste because so you're saying he utilizes acting training in law and his law.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
You learn to deal with people. You learn to be articulate, to communicate. So whatever you end up going to, I've got actually one of my University of Georgia kids who's still up here. She now has a company that she started. She goes into corporations.
Oh, wow.
And workshops people to communicate and to do one-on-one with phone calls or in meetings, and works with them to give them that background. And she's paid a lot of money for that.
That's
how to negotiate,
That's a beautiful example. Well, Lynne, I really want to thank you for your generosity of spirit and for your stories and for your wisdom. I really enjoyed this tremendously.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me as the first agent. I don't know if I'm the norm, but God knows.
I mean, to somebody that doesn't know what an agent does and doesn't know anything about it, this is a real treat.
Cool.
So thank you.
You're welcome. It was nice meeting you, even if it was just on the phone.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. And tell Miss Lori I send my love.
I will tell Lori hi. Thank you.
All right. Take care.